Okay, welcome back. So this time we're actually going to be doing the fish needs again. We're going to be looking at it and spawning creatures when the need for reproducing occurs, creating a new, instantiating a new fish, and then we're going to be looking at creating a script for looking towards or away from a certain object, say the player. So if the enemy or the enemy, for example, so the enemy should be looking at the player whenever they're going towards it. And if the fish are ever going to wander or run away, they should face towards or away. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the baby. And what we want to do is when we're searching for a mate, we're going to quickly set it back to 100, the timer, so that the need once they actually get up to the baby is actually set. But I'll change that in the search for mate in a second, because it shouldn't be there for that to occur. What we're going to do then is determine how far away the player is from, how far away a fish is from another fish, which I'm calling G-fish. And if it's greater than a specific amount, or rather is less than, which I changed it to, then the certain fish, then I'll instantiate and create a green fish. So I'm having a look now, see how it is. Making sure everything still works in the actual in-game when I press play. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually getting the fish right now. I'm going to quick look at it. And then adding in the correct instantiate, just adding the prefab in there so it would create the same fish. And a lot of this stuff that I'm showing off doesn't really, I'm just fixing a renaming one of the things there, the scene's name, because it wasn't the correct name. And one of the things that happened while I was instantiating is spawning a bunch of fish like that. There was a bunch of other things that happened. I cut them out just for the sake of the video. But I played around with a lot of this, and there, as you can see, when I had a fish hit a certain amount, it produced a bunch. But it was producing a bunch based on how many are in the distance, and because it's in the distance for a long period of time, it would spawn a load. Anyway, I decided to leave that until another time because I ran out of time during a session and decided to work on something else. And now I'm looking at the look at. So I want the player to, I wanted to get a target first, transform of a target, whatever target I chose, if for example it's the player. And if this script was on the enemy, I want them to look at that specific target. So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting the current vector, and then I need to determine its angle and such. But to do that again, I need to add a script in. I have to go into the prefab, which I did, and then get the specific float for the angle. And this one's a little bit more complicated because it has to do with angles and getting directions and such. You can always look this up if you need to know what it's all doing. I don't want to get into it, too into it. So here I am setting all the rotation and I'm getting all of the speed to determine how quick it can rotate to try and match the player and the direction. And then it's quickly me testing it, realizing it's not worked. And I changed the speed, there you go, so now you can see it's turning, but it's a little bit off-centered, it's not quite turning correctly. And this is because of the way I've done the sprite, the angle I've done the sprite at, so I actually need to offset it. So this is what I do, I need to create a float for the offset. And then I times it by the offset. And then have a little bit play around. I set it to 0 to see if it's still working and how quickly I want it. Set it to 1 and then I have a look. Bit of testing. And then here we go. I go into the scene while playing it just to see if it's definitely working. As you can see, it's rotating. And then what I do is I grab this and I want to do the opposite now. I want it to look away. And here I am just setting out the wanders, wander and looking away for the fish script for the two look away that we already created. Now when I try it out, as you can see, I get near him. And the fish will try and look away. The beginning section where I'm looking at the fish I'll definitely come back to, but I ran out of time and I didn't really want to work on it much longer. I ended up spending more time than I wanted on the fish behaviour for needs, so I'll spend a lot more time on it another time, but I have a different idea for it. Instead I'll make it so that the fish can actually hide, will seek a specific object in the world to hide in, because that's really what they do in real life. They don't really breed right out in front of you, and I didn't really want to make it easy for the player to just essentially follow a fish until they find a partner to reproduce, and they just keep following them around so they can get basically infinite amounts. I want them to actually try and seek other places, so I think I might try and get it so that the fish can get to a specific object, and this is going to happen. I haven't done this yet, and later in the, even though, because I recorded obviously this in ahead of time, but I haven't done that yet, so I'll hopefully be looking at that in the future. Okay, see you next time.